The first time I ever laid eyes on the land, I was 29 and still grieving my grandfather in the way only quiet men do, by driving too fast on back roads with the windows down and the radio off. It was late October, the kind of crisp that makes your lungs feel brand new. The realtor had called it a forgotten corner of the county, 23 acres of rolling pine and hardwood that backed up to a creek nobody had bothered to name. The deed still had my grandfather's handwriting on the survey margins from 1974, little pencil notes about where the best deer crossed and which oak made the sweetest acorns. He left it to me in a will that was 1 page long, written on the back of a feed store receipt. No one else in the family wanted the hassle. I did. I didn't have the money to build right away. Life was a rented apartment, a pickup with 180,000 miles, and a construction job that paid just enough to keep the lights on. So I paid the taxes, mowed a single path once a year so the county wouldn't complain, and told myself one day I'd put a small cabin right where the hill crests and the sunrise hits first. That was the plan. Simple, private, mine. 3 years later, almost to the day, I got a call from my neighbor Carl, who lived a mile down the gravel road. Carl never called unless a cow was out or somebody died, so when his name popped up, I answered on the first ring. "You might want to come out here, son," he said, voice flat like he was reading the weather. "There's a woman in a white Escalade putting up orange fencing on your north line. Got a whole crew with her." I laughed, because what else could it be but a mistake? I threw my boots on, drove the 45 minutes from the city, and turned onto the rutted track that led to my land. The first thing I saw was the sign, 4 feet tall, glossy black with gold letters, future home of the Ashford at Oak Hollow Estates Phase 2. So underneath, in smaller script, presented by the Oak Hollow Homeowners Association. Then I saw the house. Not a house yet, exactly, a skeleton. 2 stories of framed walls already sheathed in Toivik, roof trusses stacked like giant pickup sticks, and a foundation so big it looked like someone had plopped a hotel onto my meadow. The footprint swallowed the exact spot where I used to park my truck and drink coffee while the fog burned off the creek. Orange-celled fencing fluttered everywhere. A man in a hard hat waved me down before I could even get out. "Private property, sir. Construction zone." I rolled the window the rest of the way down. "Buddy, you're on my private property." He looked uncomfortable, radioed someone, and 30 seconds later a woman strode across the torn-up ground like she was walking the runway at Fashion Week. Mid-50s, blonde bob sharp enough to cut glass, pearl earrings the size of nickels, and a clipboard clutched like a shield. She wore white capris and heels that somehow didn't sink into the mud. I knew who she was before she opened her mouth. "You must be the gentleman who keeps leaving those passive-aggressive notes in the community mailbox," she said, smiling the way. A cat smiles at the cornered mouse. "I'm Victoria Ashford, president of the Oak Hollow HOA and developer of Phase 2. How can I help you today? How can I help you today?" I got out of the truck slow because the anger was already bubbling, and I didn't want to do anything stupid. "You can start by telling me why you're building on land I own." Her smile didn't waver. "That's adorable. The association acquired this parcel through eminent domain proceedings last year. It's all been properly recorded." She tapped the clipboard. "You're more than welcome to review the paperwork at the county clerk. Now, if you'll excuse me, we're on a very tight schedule." I pulled the folded deed from my back pocket, the one I kept in a plastic sleeve because I'm paranoid like that, and held it up. "This says Benjamin Harper, recorded 1974, re-recorded to me in 2021. Taxes paid every March." She claimed she'd been misled by a title company, that the forgery was ill news to her, that the vandalism footage was clearly manipulated. When Marcel showed bank records of $1.02 million in construction draws from the HOA reserve fund, Victoria went pale under the courtroom lights. Judge Hargrove didn't let her finish. She banged the gavel so hard the sound cracked through the room. "I've heard enough," she said. "This court finds that the defendant, Victoria Ashford, individually and in her capacity as president of the Oak Hollow HOA, knowingly and willfully trespassed upon the plaintiff's property, submitted fraudulent documents to the county recorder, misappropriated association funds, and engaged in a pattern of harassment and vandalism. The temporary injunction is made permanent. The structure at 217 Creek Holloway is hereby declared a trespass and a nuisance. She paused, looked Victoria dead in the eye. It is ordered demolished within 72 hours at the sole expense of Mrs. Ashford and the Oak Hollow Homeowners Association. Any contents remaining become property of the plaintiff. Mrs. Ashford is further ordered to pay plaintiffs reasonable attorney fees, court costs, and statutory treble damages for willful trespass. We are adjourned. Victoria made a sound I will never forget, half scream, half animal. Preston tried to steady her, but she shoved him away and ran out of the courtroom in heels that clacked like gunshots. 3 days later, I stood on the hill where I used to dream about a cabin and watched the demolition crew roll in. They started at dawn. First went the roof, tiles sliding off in avalanches of clay. Then the walls, 2x4s snapping like toothpicks. The Marble Island Victoria had bragged about on her Instagram came out in 3 pieces and got tossed into a dumpster like cheap particle board. By noon, the second floor was gone. By 4, only the foundation remained, a scarred concrete reminder. I didn't cheer. I didn't take selfies. I just stood there until the last machine rolled out and the dust settled. The meadow looked exactly the way it had the first day I saw it. Maybe a little more torn up, but mine again. Victoria filed bankruptcy 6 weeks later. The HOA dissolved. The bank foreclosed on her real house, the one she actually owned, and she moved into a 2-bedroom apartment 20 miles away. Sometimes I still get forwarded mail meant for her. Catalogs for luxury chandeliers and European kitchen appliances. Throw them away without opening them. Last month I broke ground on the cabin. It's small, 1,200 square feet, cedar siding, big windows facing east. Nothing fancy. See, the foundation is poured exactly where the mansion's infinity pool used to be. Every morning the sun comes up over my hill, hits my windows, and turns the whole valley gold, just like I always imagined. And every single day I drink my coffee on the porch and think the same thing. Some mistakes you can fix with money. Some mistakes cost you everything you built on a lie. The land doesn't care either way. It was here before any of us, and it'll be here long after. But it knows who it belongs to now.